This is Nastya from Belarus. She was only 3 years old when she was diagnosed with cancer of the uterus and the lungs. And according to local doctors, there is a direct correlation to Nastya's misfortune and the Chernobyl disaster. Ladies and gentlemen, according to the Committee on Medical Aspects of Radiation in the Environment, children living near power plants are no more likely to develop leukemia than anywhere else in the world. Taking this into consideration, how would you feel about having a nuclear power plant in your family's backyard? The decision is clear and obvious. In the past, the process and consumption of nuclear energy has caused cataclysmic socio-economic disasters and continues to do so today. Nuclear energy is so threatening to the extent that in 1957, the United States government implemented the Price-Anderson Nuclear Industries Indemnity Act to protect the nuclear industry against liability claims arising from nuclear incidents. The hazard posed by nuclear radioactive materials is a physiological phenomenon that damages biological cells and can thereby initiate cancer, as well as cause genetic diseases in progeny. Similarly to the varying health risks, activities associated with nuclear power such as mining, enrichment, generation, and geological disposal are major contributors to environmental contamination and consequent degradation across the globe. In fact, a Stanford University research has shown that nuclear power results in 9 to 25 times more carbon emissions than wind power. In November 2000, the world recognized nuclear power as a dirty, dangerous, and unnecessary technology by refusing to give it greenhouse gas credits during the UN climate change talks in The Hague. Nuclear power was dealt a further blow when a UN Sustainable Development Conference refused to label nuclear as a sustainable technology in April of 2001. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our duty to recognize this technology as an unacceptable risk to humanity and the environment, and to admit that nuclear energy is an idea whose time has passed.
Okay. The nuclear power industry is actually quite exceptional because it's quite recent, and it developed during a period of relative peace and prosperity following the Second World War. And it doesn't look like this period will continue, because nuclear power requires political, social, and economic stability to operate, and that appears to be coming to an end. The world is becoming less stable and more polarized as the 21st century progresses. So just consider the potential impact of erratic weather patterns from global warming, climate change, or the threat of rogue nuclear states or global terrorism on the nuclear industry. Nuclear energy is a long-term commitment and a liability which severely threatens human and ecological health. And if that commitment is broken on our part, voluntarily or involuntarily, the consequences can be devastating. Nuclear energy is too inflexible and poorly adapted to the realities of a changing and dangerous world. Furthermore, the reason I said that it was inflexible is because nuclear burden is a burden nuclear waste is a burden that we impose on future generations. Even a better technical means of storing and disposing of nuclear waste is developed, future generations will have to manage our dangerous nuclear waste that we leave behind. Nuclear waste is extremely hazardous now and for hundreds of thousands of years. For example, the half-life of uranium-235, one of the most common fuels used in nuclear power plants, is something on the order of 700 million years. So a more graceful and humane solution to the world, to energy problems, is to develop technologies that leave behind no ecological footprints at all. And finally, as far as nuclear power is concerned, learning from our mistakes is actually too costly and morally unacceptable. Nuclear power generation is a highly complex process that depends on the use of computer software and hardware, the soundness of mechanical systems, and the integrity of human operators at every level. So mistakes and failures are thus virtually unavoidable.
Okay, throughout history, if we actually look at all the nuclear accidents that have happened, most of it, like a lot of them, most of the time is caused due to human mistakes, which leads to the question: are we competent enough to take care of nuclear power plants?
Yes. Oh. Nope. Nope. Okay. The discovery of nuclear chain reactions need not bring about the destruction of mankind any more than the discovery of matches. We must do everything in our power to safeguard against its abuse. This was said by Albert Einstein in 1953. The first power station was providing electricity since 1882. The world's first nuclear chain reaction occurred in 1942, and the first large-scale nuclear power plant began producing electricity in 1957. Nuclear energy has made substantial improvements over the short time we have had to develop this source. As we continue on with more research, we discover better, efficient ways to utilize the source. There is still a lot more research to be done in order to discover the full potential of nuclear energy. In 1882, North America's energy consumption was 9,877 kilowatts hours. It has been steadily climbing, with society becoming more and more dependent on electricity, heating systems, cars, laptops, TVs, washers, stoves, and of course, everyone's iPods. Nuclear, in 2010, our consumption has increased to 13,567 kilowatt hours. To be able to supply the increasing demands without bankrupting society, nuclear plants are the solution. With costs around 2 cents per kilowatt hour, which is much more feasible than oil's approximate 22 cents per kilowatt hour. Another benefit of nuclear energy is that it is the least polluting source of reliable energy, unlike coal, oil, and gas, and depend on wind farms. So, if we ever want to achieve our goals of having cleaner energy, nuclear plants are needed. Air pollution is hurting the planet, and it's a habit. Asthma, which is caused by pollution, has been increasing for the past 20 years. In 1988, 4.9% of adults in Canada suffered from this disease. In 2010, the figure has nearly doubled to 8.5%. And when it comes to nuclear waste, there are new reactors being built for more efficient, reducing the radioactive byproduct. With more time and research, we can minimize the amount of nuclear waste being produced from plants. At the same time, we are discovering ways to reprocess spent nuclear fuels. With the reduction of waste production and the maximization of reprocessing the said waste, nuclear energy has the potential to become virtually unlimited. Though there have been crises in the nuclear energy field, it is not so bad when comparing casualties in the following activities of coal and oil. The death rates per terawatt hour produced by coal and oil are 161 and 36. The death rate per terawatt hour produced by nuclear energy is 0.04. And this includes Chernobyl, which has the highest death rate by nuclear causes. It happened in 1986. There were 30 deaths from radiation-related causes, and it was given the highest possible rating of 7 in the International Nuclear Event Scale. In this case, the reactor design was unique to the rest of the nuclear industry outside of the region. This reaction type plant was only in the Soviet Union. Let's fast forward to March 11, 2011. We witnessed the one and only other level 7 on the IMES in Japan. The crisis began with a 9.0 magnitude earthquake knocking out the power of the planet. When they had things under control with backup generators, a devastating tsunami struck the plant and took those out too. After 10 days, they were able to stabilize the situation. During the events of the tsunami and nuclear crisis, the lives lost were much greater than that of Chernobyl. There were 20,896 deaths in Japan. However, none of these were nuclear-related deaths. They were all caused by the tsunami and the earthquake. They were all ocean/earthquake-related deaths, one would say. In comparison to Chernobyl's 30 nuclear-related deaths to Fukushima's 0, it's safe to say that we have made progress in the safety measures when it comes to nuclear power. We've implemented new safety measures to make sure we keep society safe, and this is how we improve on this technology. In Fukushima, unfortunately, the plant took a hit from both earth and ocean with larger magnitude than ever imagined, so they were unprepared for that. And on top of that, TEPCO did not have the necessary supplies to help stop the crisis. Had they been well equipped, it could have been resolved much sooner. With that being said, nuclear power will be needed in the future as a reliable, non-polluting source of energy. Running away from these activities will not help us improve or understand more about our world. We have made plenty of progress, and we need to keep progressing to understand how to make it more efficient and safer.
Now have 4 minutes
7,
break.
6, 5,